All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I had to adjust some things, so let me know if you guys can hear me okay, and that will get us started. Today, we are going to go over one of the bills that's being introduced. So I know we've given you guys some high level review of kind of the things that are in the bill. But I know that not everybody takes the time to go dive into the actual text of the bill. And even if you do, it's not always really clear what's going on. So that's what I'm here to help you out with. So do drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you can hear me okay. That's always helpful, and we'll dive into the text. First one up on the block today will be the assault weapons bill. So this is the assault weapons ban and magazine restrictions that they're attempting to introduce. Good to see you guys. We have Ghost from Anoka. Good to see you. Hobo Harry. Good to see you as well. Kevin from Emmons. We've got Farrell from Albert Lee. Hobo Henry calling from the forest. That's that's awesome. Jaeger from Winona, and FICL from Hennepin County. All right, good to see you guys here. Still waiting to see if you guys can hear me okay, but I don't want to go and talk for 20 minutes and then find out that nobody can hear me. Tim from Stevens County, good to see you as well. Shelly from Cannon Falls, thanks for joining today. And yeah, Tom from Grand Rapids. Excellent, excellent. I hope nobody's letting me know if you guys can hear me. So hopefully you can hear me okay. um, let's see. To be fair, government. All right, Arizona. Frank visiting down in Arizona. Frank is retired, and he's either in Arizona or at his cabin up north. That's about where you'll find Frank. All right, Matt, thank you very much for letting me know. And Bold, okay, you guys can hear me loud and clear. All right, you guys are coming through. There must be a bit of a lag here, so I appreciate that. All of these comments do help us improve our algorithm love. As well as if you guys can take a second here before we really dive in, share this out to any groups, depending on which social media you're on. That expands our reach. We do know that we are fairly suppressed on a lot of the major social media channels. Right now, we are going live to X, aka Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. So that's good. Thank you all for checking in. I really appreciate that. But in order to kind of break through some of that suppression that we get, we need you guys to share this out yourself. So whether you do it right now or after the video is live, you go and share it around to your different friends, different groups. Let them know what's going on here in Minnesota. So I'll set the stage a little bit. Governor Walz, as a precursor to launching his his re-election bid, attempted to capitalize on the unfortunate tragedy at Annunciation Catholic Church, which took the lives of two children and 17 others. Very tragic situation. Somebody who was very clearly mentally disturbed, exhibiting a lot of symptoms and signs of impending disaster. Fascinated with school shootings at a young age, yet slipped through every crack in every law that they've got on the books. But as they say, never let a tragedy go to waste. He's planning on calling a special session. At least that's what he's been telling us for the last 2.5 weeks. That he's very seriously, guys, very seriously going to call a special session. And to date, that has not been called. Now that being said, it wasn't until yesterday's special election to replace Speaker Emeritus Hortman's seat that there was the votes in the House to even defeat or to even tie things to stop, ostensibly pro Second Amendment and pro school safety legislation from getting through. They didn't have the votes to do that. So now things are back to tied. So if he is going to call a special session, now is probably pretty close to the time that he would do it. But there is a little bit of fly in that ointment, and big props to Senator Kerry Heintzman, who directly confronted Ron Latz about this issue. Is like, do you have the votes to pass these bills through your own caucus? Are all of the Senate Democrats even on the same page here? Because we know that Senator Rob Kupek, I was physically in the room when he told a room full of gun rights supporters in his own district, his own constituents, that red flag laws and universal background checks were as far as that he was willing to go on gun restrictions, and that he would oppose things like an assault weapons ban. Grant Housechild, Rob Kupek's up in the Moorhead area. Grant Housechild up in the Arrowhead, senator for the Arrowhead region, has told people that he does not support semi-automatic weapon bans, and that's what this is. It's a ban on semi-automatic rifles. He told that to his constituents. And Judy Seeberger in the Woodbury area, Afton, Oakdale, Woodbury, I think that area, she has expressed some apprehension to supporting these things. So there's 3 votes that they need to overcome. So their strategy right now, and this became very, very crystal clear in the Senate Gun Violence Working Group Committee, because they haven't called a special session. So what they did is pull together a working group, which is really just, it's nothing official. They can't pass legislation. They can't vote on legislation. They can't, they can talk about things. That's about it. There's no official actions that happen there. During this working group, Senator Kerry Heinzman courted around Latz and said, "Do you even have the votes?" And he said, "Well, no, this needs to be a bipartisan effort." So the whole goal of this working group, and this became clear if you watched the hearing today, and we put some clips up, is not to try to identify solutions that can gain broad bipartisan support. It's to put up these extreme proposals and browbeat Republicans and pro-gun legislators that aren't on their party, to say that they're the reason why these can't get through. Of course, they're not looking at their own caucus to say, hey, this is even too extreme for all of your Democrats to vote for. So they need to try to lure in Republicans. And I guarantee you the concentrated messaging isn't going to be that, these 2 or 3 DFL senators are standing in the way. It's going to be that Republicans are standing in the way. So that's the purpose of this this hearing. I think I lost my comments here. Give me a second. See if I can pull the chat back up. Apologize for that. All right. I'm not sure if the comments have just stalled or if you guys aren't typing anything, but either way, we will press on. So they don't have the votes to pass it out of the Democratic Party in the Democratic Senate, so they're going to keep attacking Republicans, saying that Republicans are the reason why this won't pass. Now, there are some Republicans that have flirted with certain gun control measures in the past. They are specifically targeting people like Carla Nelson, people like Karen Housley, people like Jim Abler in the Senate, because in order to get these through, they need to lure those Republicans, and they need to lure a couple of House Republicans too, at least one of them. If they pull over all of the Democrats in the House, which I think they can do, there aren't any pro Second Amendment Democrats in the Minnesota House. If they pull all of them over and pull them in line, then they just need one Republican. So they're targeting people like Jeff Whitty. They're targeting people like Danny Nadeau, Andrew Myers. Now, these guys have not taken. Well, I guess Andrew Myers did vote for universal background checks initially, but then when it was clumped together with a bunch of other gun control measures, he voted against it. Danny Nadeau and Jeff Whitty never, passed a deciding vote, for final passage on any gun control bills. Neither did Andrew Myers. But that's who they're going for. The moms are hitting them hard. Their other Democratic colleagues are hitting them hard. And that's the game plan. They're not, the media is very, very focused on helping the Democratic Party provide political cover for their own members, because if you read through the Star Tribune opinion pages, it's all blaming Republicans for not taking action when they don't have the votes in their own party. But yet you don't see them going after any of those members because it's okay if they don't vote for it to protect their political futures. But if Republicans are voting for it to stand up for Second Amendment rights and stand up for their constituents, then they're, those are the bad people. All right. I have blabbed on enough. I'm going to go through, I'm going to do some videos over the next few days covering all of the bills that are being introduced. Today, though, we're going to start with the big one, the one that you guys are all interested about. I'm going to go over this, literally every single section of this. I think there's 22 sections of this. Not all of them are going to need a whole lot of discussion. They're just minor changes. But what I want you guys to do is to have a good understanding of what they're doing and what they're attempting to push through over at the Capitol. And by looking at the text, you guys can see that it's not hyperbole. It's not things that we're making up. It's actual text of the bill. Before I get into the text of the bill, there is one other thing that I wanted to share. Where did I put that window? All right. So when we're talking about the 1994 assault weapons ban, that keeps getting invoked by the author of this bill, by other senators, about just how effective it was, and they're saying that the assault weapons ban decreased shootings, which is true. But what they don't tell you is that every other category of crime decreased at the same or even greater rate. Property crimes went down over that same period. Other violent crimes that don't involve firearms went down. And what they don't tell you too is they were already on the way down at the time that this was that the assault weapons ban was passed. And then the other part they don't tell you is that actually I've got a chart for this. I didn't pull this one up, but give me just a second. That for 10 years, so the assault weapons ban, it was sunsetted on September, I think September 18th, somewhere around there, of 2004. And for 10 years after the assault weapons ban passed, or the sunsetted, rates still went down. They reached their lowest rates in 2014, I think 3.7 deaths, up from a high of 7 before the assault weapons ban passed. So they take this little window of the assault weapons ban from 1994 to 2004 and say, hey, look, gun deaths went down over this period, therefore it's a success. But what they don't tell you is 10 years after that, gun deaths went down more and reached their low in 2014, all while the sale of quote unquote assault weapons, AR-15s, skyrocketed after the ban was lifted. So they look at the one little window, they declare it a success. I don't have the chart here, but I do have some studies that I wanted to show you guys here. First, let's go to the CDC. Let me see if I can pull this into the window here. Does this work? All right, here we go. CDC, this is a little hard to read. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. So this is a task force from the CDC tasked with looking at the effectiveness of firearms laws. What they concluded, task force found insufficient evidence to determine the effectiveness of any of the firearm laws, combinations of laws reviewed as outcomes. And they specifically looked at the assault weapons ban. Let's look at another study here. This is from, which one is this from? Is this Rand? Sorry. Oh, Guns in America. So this one looked at different studies, and here was the conclusion that they reached. They looked at 5 different studies, and what they found was one of the studies said that when assault weapons are used in school shootings, the casualties increase. Very, very narrow subset of a narrow subset of a narrow subset. When you look at gun deaths as a whole, mass shootings are a very small subset. And then when you look at mass shootings, the school shootings are even a smaller subset of that. And they found that when assault weapons are used, there ended up being more casualties. So that was their conclusion. But when they looked at every other conclusion, uncertain associations between assault weapons ban and mass shooting incidents and fatalities, in light of these and the relative strength of these studies, we find inconclusive evidence for the effects of assault weapons bans on mass shootings. except for the guy that found that it can reduce some injuries in some types of mass shootings. So that was the conclusion there of 5 different studies. Let's find this one here. This one is an evaluation of, oh, I'm zooming in the wrong page here. Hold on. So this was an evaluation by criminologist Cooper and Roth. Evaluation of the short-term effects of the assault weapons ban did not reveal any clear impacts on gun violence outcomes. And then this one's got a couple of data points here. And this is from the Department of Justice and an analysis of theirs. So reducing criminal use of banned guns and magazines. They found a couple of cities that had a drop, but very interestingly, Minneapolis had a big spike in homicides during the course of the assault weapons ban. Do you guys remember when New York Times ran that article calling Minneapolis Murderapolis because of all of the firearm crime and the homicides that were there? That happened in the midst of the assault weapons ban. So and then they kind of focus that this, usually the ones used in crimes are pistols, but they found that there's essentially no data to support that the assault weapons ban had any impact on firearm crime. Let me see real quick. If you guys have any questions, any comments, let me see if I can turn the comment section back on here for a little bit. All right. And, I think that goes into it. And one of the more shocking things that I heard today was Senator Gustafson saying that we have the choice of picking which mass weapon the next mass shooter uses. And I found this disturbing for 2 reasons. One was because when we're talking about mass shootings, I don't want them to happen at all. I don't want them to use a handgun, which the deadliest school shooting in American history at Virginia Tech used 2 handguns. The deadliest attack on a school in our nation's history was in Bath, Michigan, and that was a bomb. I'm not going to sleep any better knowing that somebody decided to use a handgun or a shotgun or multiple handguns instead of using a quote unquote assault rifle. So that's the first thing is I would rather find strategies to strengthen our schools, to utilize technology, environmental design to make it so that people can't even get in there to do the thing that they want to do. When they do get in there, they're contained and they're met with immediate and harsh counterforce and stop them from ever doing and look upstream to try to identify ways that we can identify these people who are in crisis and stop them from doing the attacks in the first place. That's where all the focus should be. Nobody should feel better that kids were shot with 2 handguns and a shotgun, which the shooter also had on them at Annunciation, than with a quote unquote assault rifle. That shouldn't give anybody any comfort. Let's stop the ability to conduct these school attacks in schools. If they happen, contain them and have them met with immediate and harsh counterforce. And then before that, even any of that happens, we can look at these people who are in clear, identifiable mental crisis and intercede long before anything happens. So that's the first thing that shocked me. And the second part is it is just pure governmental arrogance to think that banning something means that it goes away. Look at drugs. How great did the government do at banning drugs? Look at prostitution. I'm probably going to get banned on some of these platforms for saying this. That was never banned, never been successful. Alcohol during Prohibition, it was completely unsuccessful. Sports betting, they try to limit fireworks. Buying fireworks in Minnesota, you guys know around every 4th of July, all July long, you hear all of those very fun yet very Minnesota illegal fireworks going off. It is just pure governmental arrogance to think that if we ban something, it goes away. The only thing that happens when the government bans something is it creates a lucrative black market and fuels criminal activity. That's it. On top of turning peaceable, law-abiding people who have done nothing wrong into criminals on pieces of paper. Um, so that's that. All right. Introduction done. Let's go into the bill here. That's what you guys are all here for. I'm going to minimize the comments here just so we have maximum screen time, screen sharing space here. I can still read your comments. So if you guys do have a question or a comment, please do let me know. Um, we do see a few. Oh, somebody's asking how can they join us and help us out. That is good. So the first thing that you guys can do to help us out is just go over here. It's gunowners.mn/join. That will get you over to our mailing list. So if nothing else, there's a mailing list on our homepage. Put in your email address so that we can keep you guys posted. You also have the ability to make some donations there if you guys would like. We are leading the charge here against these bills. And if you don't want them to see the light of day or to become law, that's the best way to do. One, just get involved. We do have some petitions on our website for you to sign that we'll deliver to your lawmakers that you can sign as well if you go to gunowners.mn. The best way that you guys can support us is small monthly donations. If you guys sign up for the monthly donation program, you can do as little as $5 a month or as much as you want. What that does is that gives us the ability, because right now we're running ads in legislators' districts. We're keeping the pressure on them, particularly the ones that might be more vulnerable to vote for gun control, to target them and make sure that their constituents are engaging them and that they're seeing these ads too, letting them know that there will be electoral accountability for their votes and that the lawful gun owners of their districts are watching. But if you do the monthly donations, what that does is that gives us the ability to say, hey, next month we know that Jim's going to be donating $5 and Karen and Scott are going to be donating $10 each, so that we can plan our activities and our media buys appropriately as we're putting pressure on in these districts. So that's the best way that you guys can do to help us. So go to our website, gunowners.mn, sign the petitions and join the mailing list. If nothing else, then beyond that, if you can throw in a few shekels to keep us in the fight, keep the ads on the airwaves and on the internets, that would be great. So I really appreciate you guys for doing that. All right, let me clear that off and we will dive into the text of the bill. That's what you guys are here for. I've done more than enough yapping here. All right, so a quick, so this right here, when you're reading a bill, there's different ways that that it's marked up. This right here is actually current statutes. So it tells you right here that we are looking at Minnesota statute 624.712, and it's amending that statute. So whenever all of this stuff that you see as plain text is actually current Minnesota law. So right now, Minnesota law does define, what all of these, what qualifies as a SAMSA, as they call it, semi-automatic military-style assault weapon. Ace Shooters Academy asking if he can donate something for a raffle. Yes, send us an email to contact@gunowners.mn. If you have something to donate, we will definitely use that at an upcoming event to help drive some donations. So that is very, very kind of you, and I really appreciate that. All right, so going into the bill. So all of this is just current law. This is all current law. Now, when you see these strikeouts here, that means that they're removing that text from current law. So anytime you see this X out, that means this is the text that's in current law, and we are going to be removing that. And then anything that's underlined like this section right here, this is new text. So these are new words that they're adding on top of the current law. So they're also including semi-automatic military-style assault weapons, includes any semi-automatic rifle that has a capacity to accept a detachable magazine and has one or more of the following. So if you have a semi-automatic rifle that has a pistol grip, that is going to make it a semi-automatic military-style assault weapon. Any foregrip, this would probably capture a angled foregrip as well. Folding or telescoping stock, a shroud that's attached to the barrel. Now, if you ask Representative Carolyn McCarthy of California what a barrel shroud is, she will tell you it's the shoulder thing that goes up. If you guys remember that, but essentially any hand guard to protect your hand from getting burned, because that's really what makes a firearm super lethal is the telescoping stock, the foregrip. Yep, that's what that really ups the ante. If it's a semi-automatic pistol, semi-automatic centerfire or rimfire rifle with a magazine that has the ability to accept more than 10 rounds. So there goes your Ruger 1022s, because that makes sense. A semi-automatic pistol that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine and has one or more of the following. Any foregrip on it, any pistol that has telescoping or thumb hole stock. So this is going to capture all of your AR style pistols as well. It's basically all of the same features. And then a shotgun. So this also bans pistol grip shotguns that has, if it's a semi-automatic shotgun that it has a pistol grip or any of these things that accepts more than 10 rounds, or an ability to accept a detachable magazine. So if it's a fixed capacity magazine of 10 rounds, or an ability to accept a detachable magazine. So if it is any magazine fed shotgun, regardless of the magazine capacity, it now is becoming a semi-automatic military style assault weapon under this. Then any shotgun with a revolving cylinder. And then if it's been rendered permanently inoperable, it doesn't apply to this. So if it's welded welded with a barrel plug or whatever. All right. Large capacity magazine. So that's all of the expanded definitions of what classifies as a semi-automatic military style assault weapon. Any magazine fed shotgun, or any of the rifles that have the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds. So this is what really bothers me about this is when we're looking at this, we have a semi-automatic rifle that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine and has one or more of the following. So even if it is a semi-automatic rifle that has a thumb hole stock, but it looks just like it's a wood stock and everything else. If it has a thumb hole stock and a detachable magazine, even if you only use 5-round magazines in it, it becomes a semi-automatic military style assault weapon, and regardless of caliber, rate of fire, anything like that. So let's go down to the high capacity magazine. Large capacity magazine means any, and again, it's underlined, so this is all new text. Any ammunition feeding device with the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds, any conversion kit, part, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean a feeding device that has been permanently altered so that it can accommodate no more than 10 rounds. A tube-fed ammunition feeding device, or a tubular magazine that is contained in a lever-action firearm. So essentially, that's the definition. We'll get into the penalties a little bit later here. We're still working on the definitions right now, because the first thing that you do in statute is define what the words mean. Here's the one that you guys are going to think is interesting. So if you guys are passively listening, you might want to look at the screen here. Oh, I jumped the gun there a little bit. We're not quite there yet. So law enforcement agencies, of course, cops are exempt from this. And then it's unlawful to possess, import, transfer, or own large capacity magazines, 50 caliber or larger firearms. Of course, all of the government is exempt from that, because government always exempts itself from bans, because they're the largest perpetrators of violence. And then current registration. So we'll get into the 50 caliber. That's the one that I got a little overexcited about here. But if you own one, and you want to legally own and keep possessing it, you have to immediately register the device with an appropriate law enforcement agency. And then you have to, check this out, safely secure the device pursuant to the regulations adopted by the appropriate law enforcement agency, and agree to allow the appropriate agency to inspect the storage of your device for compliance with this subdivision. So what this means is that if you want to keep any of the types of firearms that I discussed earlier, you not only have to register it with your local law enforcement agency, tell them that you have it, but allow them into your home to inspect it whenever they want. They don't need a warrant. They don't need anything. Your home is your castle. This is a blatant Fourth Amendment violation. They just get to show up and we're here to inspect. Let us in. Absolutely crazy. You have to renew the registration every 3 years, and then it's only to be immediately controlled by the person, and while engaged with the legal use of this device at a duly licensed firing range or while transporting it in compliance with law. You can't even let another person shoot it. If you're at the range and you hand over your rifle over to your friend to shoot it, even if you've done all of these registration things, you've just broken the law. You have to report the loss or theft of the device within 48 hours. And then you also have to register large capacity magazines and 50 caliber. How do you do this? Magazines aren't serialized. How are you going to register it? So now you're gonna have to put serial numbers on each of your magazines that you want to retain in your possession. And then check this one out. Oh, my computer just froze up here. What's going on? All right, my computer just completely flashed and froze. Let me know if I'm still live, you guys. I apologize for that. Let me know if you can still see and hear me. All right. Sorry about that. My whole computer just did like a little semi crash out there. Let me know if you guys can see me and hear me. You can hear me but not see me. Okay. Maybe that's what happened. My camera just decided to crap out. All right. We'll just roll with it. I'll keep talking. All right. I will just keep talking. I don't know what happened to my camera here, but if you guys can hear me, you don't need to see my ugly mug. So that'll be good enough. All right. Here is the kicker here. The appropriate law enforcement agency may charge a fee for each registration and each renewal. So now, in order to keep all of the guns that they don't want to allow you to have, you have to register it and then pay them for the privilege of keeping your own property. And then imagine too, if you want your standard capacity magazines, which they call large capacity magazines, you have to register and pay a fee for each of those too. So, all right. And then you have to. So then here's this. So let's say that Grandpa leaves you in his will a AR-15 or or a something that would qualify as one of these Sam saws, a 50 caliber. Wait till we get to the 50 caliber part. You guys are going to love this. Then if you receive it by inheritance, you have 3 options, or I guess 4 options. Surrender the device to law enforcement agency for destruction, modify it to render it permanently inoperable, or remove the device from the state. And you have 120 days to do that if Grandpa leaves you a firearm that they've decided now is going to be banned. Hey, there's my camera. Cool. We're back. All right. Now you guys do get to see my ugly mug. All right. Let's keep going. So it's the same thing for magazines, high capacity, large capacity magazines that they say. And then the local police chief or sheriff is supposed to adopt regulations about how they register those firearms and safely secure them. So it's not going to be a statewide mandate or a statewide prescription on how you need to do it. Your local law enforcement officer, whether it's your local sheriff or your local police chief, is going to get to decide how this happens. Cass there has a good question. How does this work on takings? That is a good question. This would be a Fifth Amendment takings issue, which means that in order for the government to seize your property, they can't take it without providing you just compensation. Now, Senator Latz argues that, well, if it becomes illegal, then it's not a taking. You just need to comply with the law. But I disagree. So the argument against takings will be that, well, we're not taking it. We're telling you you can either turn it in for destruction, you can leave the state with it, or you can permanently make it inoperable. So there would be an argument there that the government isn't actually taking it, they're just ordering its destruction, but that counts as a regulatory taking. If the government passes a regulation that forces you to incur a property loss, they still owe you compensation. So that's what their argument will be. I don't think it flies. I don't think it passes muster, but that is a good question, Cass. Thank you for that one. So you also, you have to let them inspect your storage of magazines and the firearm. So that's good. All right. So this section right here is they're just tweaking existing law, making it making all of these different sections apply to that. So you are allowed, if you have a registered semi-automatic military style assault weapon, to allow your kid to shoot it. So that's nice. So if you hand it to your buddy, you're a felon, but if you hand it to your kid under your supervision, our benevolent overlords are permitting that to happen. I am looking for, so this is all current law, and they're just kind of removing the semi-automatic military style assault weapon because they've supplemented that with the text that we went over. Let's see. Exclusions, of course, all the law enforcement people are excluded. And then, so what they're doing here is a little bit sneaky. They're not broadcasting it, but by removing pistol or semi-automatic military assault weapon, what they're doing here is actually making it illegal for you to transfer them. So your options, when the government tells you you need to surrender it, register it, make it permanently inoperable, or leave the state, you can't sell it to anybody else. So if you even, and there's no description here about what happens if you sell it to somebody out of state. And this also means that once you die, you can't transfer it to anybody else. So right now, if it isn't banned and you receive it via inheritance, you can register it, but you can't do that after you die. So the goal here is within a generation to destroy or permanently alter every single semi-automatic rifle with a detachable magazine in Minnesota. So they want to eliminate their existence within a generation. Now, of course, you guys know that that's never going to happen because it is completely bat guano asinine to think that any criminal is going to do any of this. So what we were doing is we were telling law-abiding people that they have to get rid of their rifles, and they can't transfer it, and they can't sell it out or anything like that. Your options are destroy it, render it inoperable, or have it leave the state. So I glazed over it here. I'm looking for the definition of 50 caliber because this is the, yeah, here we go. So you guys know about calibers. You guys know about, calibers, diameter of the projectile and things like that. So here's what they call a 50 caliber firearm. And these are going to be required to be registered and banned and all of the other things that I just talked about. So they do exempt black powder. So your muzzle loader is okay. But a 50 caliber or larger firearm means a firearm that is capable of expelling a metal projectile that measures 1/2 inch or larger in diameter. Now, you guys think of some firearms, not just rifles. I'll give you a hint there. Some firearms that can expel a projectile that is larger than 1/2 inch in diameter. Think about that for a second. Let me know. Want to see some comments there. So of course, they do exempt antique items. So if it's a Curos and relic, something manufactured before 1899, that would be okay. XDMM, I will get into the odds of it passing. I did address some of that earlier. Zach is the first one with the winning comment here. Slugs. Shotgun slugs. 20 gauge, 12 gauge, 10 gauge, 16 gauge. All of those are going to be considered 50 caliber or larger firearms. It's literally every shotgun because, again, it's not whether you do. So maybe you only put birdshot in there. But what does this say here? This is statutory interpretation here. Capable of expelling. Is your 12 gauge bird shotgun that maybe you've never shot a slug out of your life, is it capable of expelling a projectile that measures 50 caliber or larger? Yes, it is. So if it's capable of expelling that, if it's capable of expelling a slug, what's a slug? Like 0.7 inches, right? For a 12 gauge slug, somewhere around there. Then it is a banned firearm. These people don't know what they're talking about, and they're writing laws. Now, I didn't point this out to them because I don't want them to fix it. Maybe they're watching the stream and maybe they'll fix it now. Don't go running to your legislator and say hi, because this will be great when it's on the floor and say, hey, do you guys know that if it gets to the floor, do you guys know that you're banning every single 12 gauge and 20 gauge shotgun in the state of Minnesota with this bill, and making people register it and pay a fee, things like that. So that's the craziness of this. So, that's the deep dive of all of the portions of this bill. Everything else is just, tweaking different portions of statute and things like that to make it reflect the current reality. But high level overview again, assault weapon ban, basically any rifle designed in the last 50 years that has if it's semi-automatic and has a detachable magazine, and it either has a foregrip, something covering the barrel, an adjustable stock, or a pistol grip or thumb hole stock, then it's an assault weapon. That's what they're calling it. And if you want to keep it, you have to register it. You have to pay a fee to register it. You have to pay that fee every 3 years. And then you have to allow cops into your home whenever you want, or whenever they want, to inspect your home and see if they're safely stored. If you inherit it, you can either turn it in for destruction or register it, and then you can never transfer it. Once it's yours, you can never, ever transfer it. Your only options are to turn it in for destruction. This includes every magazine that you own over 10 rounds. It's going to have to be serialized and registered. You'll have to pay a fee for every single magazine and repay that fee every 10 years, or I'm sorry, every 3 years for every magazine over 10 rounds. And then the shotguns and any gun that's capable of shooting a projectile over 50 caliber. So ghost guns is a different bill. I will cover that coming up in a different stream. But I wanted to give you guys a really deep dive and make this available for people who wanted to really dive deep into that bill so that you knew exactly what it was doing, that you knew that when we tell you things, we're not lying about it. Lots of times there are people, and unfortunately, sometimes it's gun rights group trying to pull money out of your wallet that will lie to you about what a bill says and what a bill's doing. This bill's terrible. You don't need to lie about it, but they will lie to you to make it sound worse than it is in order to get you scared so that you donate money to them. I don't lie to you guys. I don't. I'm not. I'm going to go over, bring all of the receipts, show you everything that shows that we're coming from a position of honesty and integrity here, and telling you the facts as they are. Now, somebody asked, what are the odds of it passing? I went into this a bit earlier in the stream. We've got quite a few more people watching. Um, right now, they don't have the votes in the Democrat Senate to get this passed. There's at least two, probably three Democrat senators who are not going to vote for this assault weapons ban. Now, what they are doing, though, and the media is helping them out ever so kindly, is beating up on Republicans as being the issue. They had the Democrat trifecta 2 years ago. They had this bill introduced 2 years ago. They could have passed it 2 years ago, but they didn't have the votes, and they still don't have the votes. It is not Republicans' fault that their bills are too extreme for their own members. But what they are doing right now is saying that it is the Republicans that are refusing to take up these issues. But you know what Republicans are doing is they're talking about school safety, increasing mental health resources. Did you guys know Minnesota is ranked 50th in the country for mental health beds per capita? 50th in the country. I work in public defense, as many of you guys know. I have clients who I represent in court who get declared mentally unfit, and there's a rule, there's a law in Minnesota that says within 48 hours they have to be transferred to a mental health bed. I have clients who have been in jail for over 4 months because there have been no mental health beds available. I have colleagues of mine at the public defender's office that have had people in jail for over a year because there was no mental health beds available. These are people who have been adjudicated criminal or incompetent to stand trial or incompetent to be held legally responsible for their actions. And they're to be referred to a mental health bed, but we don't have the beds to put them there. We have terrible mental health resources out in greater Minnesota. And we know that when people are planning a mass shooting attack, they exhibit signs of mental distress. And 50% of the time, they leak their plans to other people and what they're doing. And if we intervene at that point, if we have the ability to connect those people, and I'm not talking about red flag laws. Red flag laws are stupid because they say, hey, if we take the guns away, everything's fine now. And that's just a stupid position to start from. What I'm talking about is taking that person who's in an identifiable mental crisis and connecting them to resources that are effective, resources that they can actually afford, that are affordable to them, that's accessible to them, is what I like to say, and actually help them through that crisis that they're in. If it's a veteran going through PTSD, the VA clinic might not have the resources to help them. Making sure that they have the ability to have those resources available to divert them from any violence. Because I myself, and what the Republicans are arguing is, I'm not going to feel any better if my kids are shot with a handgun instead of a AR-15 because my school was unable to employ a school resource officer or unable to afford technology and structural enhancements to keep their buildings safe, or unable to employ threat assessment teams to identify people who are in crisis within the school system and divert them to resources. How my kid was shot doesn't make me feel better. What Republicans are offering are solutions to make sure our schools are not easy targets for people who want to inflict mass harm. That means securing the building. We don't need to turn them into fortresses, but you guys wouldn't believe the technology that's out there right now to help identify and mitigate. Structural design, making sure that schools are designed in a way where it's difficult for somebody to get in to inflict mass harm, and if they start, easy to contain them. And of course, immediate and effective counter force. What happens in mass shootings is the killings of innocent people stop once effective counterforce arrives. And that ends in one of two ways. Somebody either shoots the attacker or the attacking coward takes their own life. And the faster that effective counterforce can get there, the sooner that the killing of innocent people stops. And that's not any, none of those things are part of the conversation that the Democrats want to, the anti-gun Democrats want to entertain. They are only focused on restricting your access to guns. And there is zero data out there to support the idea that if we pass a law banning assault weapons, that assault weapons will, one, go away, or two, mean that school shootings aren't going to happen. There's a little bit of data that they point to that says it might make, and we covered this earlier, it might make a mass shooting a little bit worse, or a little bit less worse. But why wouldn't we just focus on things that stop the mass shooting from happening in the first place? Or if it is happening, ending it as quickly as possible. Or if it does happen, making sure that it doesn't get any further than possible. I don't get why they are so laser focused on the firearm. You guys know the state with the most mass shootings is California. California has had an assault weapons ban since 1989, and they still have more mass shootings than any other state. Columbine happened in the middle of the assault weapons ban. They are just so laser focused on ineffective policies that it's sickening. But what's most sickening to me than anything else is they all say that they agree on school safety funding and mental health funding, increasing mental health beds. They all say that they agree with this, but they won't take any action on it because of politics. Because if Republicans get to go into next year's election saying that they helped keep schools safer from mass violence, that they helped invest money in programs to divert people from violence, that's going to be something good for them in the election. And that's not what the anti-gun people want. What they want is they want more power. They want those seats back that they lost last election. So they want to force votes on these things so that they can use it as a political football over the next election to say, hey, this representative in this vulnerable district voted against stopping school shootings. That's what they want the message to be. So the goal here for the Democrats is not to pass legislation, whether it's through a special session or a regular session. It's not to pass legislation that can make a difference or that has broad agreement. It's to propose legislation that they know will fail so that they can use it to their political advantage next election cycle. That's what sickens me. Is I do think that there are things that we can do to keep our schools safer, to keep both public and private schools safer, to keep our gathering places safer, things that are demonstrated in other states to work, but they don't want to do that because it's got to be about the guns. Because if they get good traction on all of these things that I mentioned here, that's good messaging for Republicans, and that's the last thing that they want. I'll hang out here if you guys have any other questions. I wanted to do this in under an hour, and I'm just about to hit that point. I really, really appreciate you guys for being here. Hopefully going through this bill like that and explaining it to you line by line was helpful. Let me know if that was helpful to you. If you want me to do that with the rest of the bills, I'm happy to dedicate that time to that and make sure that people are aware of that. Also, if you guys want to share this out there so that other people get this information, that would be really helpful. So I really appreciate you guys. Then finally, I'm going to throw in, again, a couple of, here we go. So if you guys want to join us, if nothing else, go to gunowners.mn and sign up for the mailing list. That gets you the up-to-date information about what's going on, if a special session is called, what's on the agenda for it. Governor Walz keeps teasing us that he's going to call it. He hasn't yet. The special election in the House happened yesterday, so they're going to be back at 67 strength. But if nothing else, just stay alert. Go and sign our petitions that are on our website as well at gunowners.mn. And then if you can kick in a few shekels, maybe a few dollars a month, just to help us stay in the fight, keep up the fight, keep the messaging going. I've got more lawsuits that we want to file, so that's going to be fun. I appreciate it. Do you think the GOP can take back the House and Senate in the midterms? I do think it's possible. I think that the governor's race is going to be interesting. Governor Walz's popularity has waned. There are a couple of really good candidates that are in, a couple more that might announce. But it is entirely possible. The numbers are there. But as far as being able to win back some of those seats, the St. Cloud seat that Dan Wolgamont is leaving so that he can run for Secretary of State, rumoredly, is that's going to be a hotly contested seat. So there are the numbers there. There are the vulnerable representatives and senators there to take back both chambers. But and that's unfortunately what this is about. They're trying to poke eyes, poke them in the eye over this election. Zach, thank you very much for the kind words. All right. So yeah, let me know if you guys like this. You can let me know that by sharing this, by commenting when you see this. I will run this as a restream a little bit later so that other people who are watching at other times of the day can get in on this. So if I didn't, if you right now it's a little bit 4:30ish. If I didn't see your question when you're watching this video, feel free to hit us up at contact@gunowners.mn. I can answer your question there, or our team will be keeping an eye on the comments. We have a great team of social media people who handle all the tweets and the X posts, and even over on Blue Sky, our team enjoys kind of trolling the deep blue waters over there. And if you guys do have any questions when you're seeing this, let me know at contact@gunowners.mn, or just post the comment. I'll restream this a couple of times tonight and maybe tomorrow, just so that everybody gets a chance to actually read through the assault weapons bill language, do what we did tonight, and understand what's actually happening. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a lovely evening, and until next time.